So you're a Neovim user and you've not quite figured out the best way to implement AI into your workflow. Here it is. So the reason why I think OpenCode is great is simply because it's made for the command line. It's made for the terminal. If you're comfortable working in the terminal, this is the perfect way to implement AI into your workflow. It's got some Neovim plugins which aren't official, but they are pretty good. And yeah, let's just go through them. So first things first, you just want to install it. Now I've just installed it with Brew, but obviously just install it with your package manager of choice. Now, if we open a terminal here, and all you want to do when you first start it is do OpenCode auth login, and then you can just pick any any provider that you want. So I've gone with Anthropic, and I've just purchased a month membership of Claude, for example. You can use GitHub, you can use OpenAI, and you can actually use API keys if you don't want to pay a subscription. You can just pay as you go as well. There are also some free ones. If you go into the Open Router, there's some free models in there as well. Once you've got your authorization set up, you can just simply run OpenCode and you're now in OpenCode. Okay, the first thing you want to do is to slash models. Now, this will bring up all the models that you set up for. So I've set up Anthropic and I've set up OpenAI as well with API keys. So you're going to want to do slash model and then just pick the model you want to use. I'm going to use Claude. And then if you just look in the bottom here, it says build agent. Now that means that I'm in build mode. If I press tab, I'm going to switch to plan mode. Now, whenever you're in plan mode, it won't execute any commands. It will just suggest things for you to implement, and you can prompt it to sort of fine tune the plan before you let it commit any code. And then you go into build mode when you're ready for it to start running commands. Or if you don't want it to do that at all, that's fine. You don't have to do that. And I should also mention, you can have a separate model for planning and a separate model for building. So when you're in plan mode, first thing you want to do is do slash init. Now this will give it basically an opportunity to scan your whole repo and make some context about how the repo works. So if we open up Neovim here and we see what agents MD it's added, it's basically reference from the whole repo what this is. So it's a Go Flappy Bird game. Here's how you run it, some build commands, etc. The code style, the error handling, things like that. So in whatever repo you're in, it'll make an agents.md file, which basically gives the agent or the AI the context before it gives you any further instructions. So, for example, if you say that you use constants in uppercase, then it won't give you any suggestions that don't follow that coding standard, for example. So if I just run the application here, and I'll just show you exactly what we have so far. So this is just little side projects I made a while ago, just while I was learning a bit of Go game development. But basically, it's just a Flappy Bird clone. It's got some bugs, but you can go through the pipes, you can crash into the pipes, etc., etc. Quite cool. Let's just get it to do some very basic things. So as you can see up here, the score and the high score is very small. Let's see if it can fix that for us. So I'll jump into OpenCode here and I'll just say, let's make the score and high score much more visible. And let's see what it does. So it's going to talk us through all the changes it's going to do. It's going to give us a plan, and then it's going to tell us what it would do. And then if you're happy with that, you can swap it into build mode and it'll add the changes, or you can do it yourself. It's give you some suggestions. That's what AI is great for, bouncing ideas off. It's like speaking to someone without having to disturb someone. You just, you're bouncing ideas off it. You get some suggestions, and you can obviously do it yourself. So now let's swap it into build mode and say, yes, let's go through the plan. Because as you can see, it's suggested updating the font size and things like that, and that's exactly what I was going for. So now it's going to update the score rendering for better visibility with a bigger size, maybe change the position, etc. And let's see what it does. So as you can see, it has now made the changes and it's actually ran the program so we can see what's going on here. And as you can see, it is much more visible and it actually looks a bit more like the official game. So we have the 2 as the best score, now it's 0. And as you can see, it's great. It's working great. Now, let's say we want to integrate this more with Neovim, right? Because at the end of the day, we're Neovim users, right? So if we open Neovim, I'll just show you my config. So if I go to my Lua file, plugins, AI, I've got a plugin here called OpenCode.nvim. Now this is made by a guy called Nick Van Dyke, and I think it's absolutely perfect. There's multiple ways you can use it. You can have it so you have OpenCode terminal running inside your Neovim. So it'll be somewhere like here. There'll be a big sidebar similar to like what cursor looks like. But the way I prefer to use it is literally just with the key mappings. So if I go to my main.go. Let's go to my draw function, which is what's responsible for drawing everything in Ebit engine. And I just highlight this function, for example, and I do leader OA. I can ask OpenCode anything about this selection that I've just selected in Neovim. So I can say, what does this do? I can send that message. And now because I've got OpenCode open in another terminal, it's just asked it directly in this terminal, as you can see. Main.go, main.go, what does this do? So it's asked this in this second terminal because it connects to the OpenCode instance already running. And as you can see, look, it's now reading the file, reading the lines. It's telling us this code handles the bird sprite animation based on the player's movement direction. It checks if the bird is falling. If it's falling, it'll be a down flap. If it's rising, it'll be an up flap. Now, this, in my opinion, is a great application of AI. You're just using it to quickly gain context. Obviously, you could give it a much, you could give it this whole draw function and it would tell you exactly what the whole draw function does, breaking it down. Very useful if you're joining a new repository and you want to know exactly what's going on. You want to get the context quickly, great way to do it. Similarly, there's another thing you can do, which I like, is you can say, give me a code review, and let's see what it says. So it's going to look at the git difference of the changes it just made. So it made the UI better, right? So as you can see, strengths, yep, 4 times the scale, the current score, 2 times higher score, better better UX positioning, visual depth, shadow effects, add contrast against the background, etc., etc. And then it also goes through issues, magic numbers, etc., etc., etc. So this is great for before you just push your branch to a code review at your workplace. Get yourself a little code review before you push it to catch the little silly mistakes you might have made. And I'll just show you one last thing. So you can do a command called show prompt. So I think it's leader OP. And then you can prompt OpenCode, if you look down here, prompt OpenCode to explain the code near the cursor, fix diagnostics, or review the whole buffer. This is another thing you can add as well. So there we go, OpenCode, possibly one of the best ways to implement AI into your Neovim setup. I think it's great, built for the terminal, made by people who actually use Neovim. It's perfect. Let me know what you think. See you later.